Hello, everybody. Just a quick announcement before this week's episode. I am so excited to announce that I have partnered with Two Horse Tack. If you are in the market for some high quality and affordable halters, bridles, breastplates, stirrup leathers, or anything of that nature, including even dog collars, you can go to twohorsetack.com and use code HORSEGIRL10 for 10% off your order. Thanks so much and enjoy the episode. Hi, everybody. I am here today with one of my very good friends, Maggie, and we are going to chat a little bit about her story and all of the fun twists and turns that it's taken. So, hi, Maggie.
Hi!
Maggie, do you want to start just by introducing yourself and a little bit about how you first got started with horses?
Yeah, of course. So, when I was younger, I begged my parents so much to let me ride. And my older sisters went to summer camp, and when we'd go visit them, I would just go up to the horse stables, even though neither of them rode, and stare at the horses. And finally they caved, and they would let me go to summer camp, rode there for a few years, moved to New Hampshire, and when we moved there, I got to ride way more, and it's been super great. That's where I got introduced to eventing. When I graduated high school, I took what initially was supposed to be a gap year, and has unfortunately turned, well, fortunately for me, unfortunately for my parents, has turned into a career because I became a working student. I initially started with a 5-star rider who I did a trial with, and I worked for a few weeks, and he gave me a great offer. He was super great to work with, but I'm so happy I went and tried it because I realized that it was a gigantic program, and as someone who was coming from like a little barn in New Hampshire, I knew it was going to be too much. So politely turned him down, found another great situation, a dressage rider at the same property as the 5-star rider, so can't complain. And, you know, it was nice because we still had some event horses that worked with him. So I got to tack them and warm them up and do jump setting still while working for a smaller program. And then, yeah, from there, I started building clients and doing a lot more opportunities working with horses, both barn work and working with other trainers, doing some more working student opportunities. I did a lot at Aiken, South Carolina, some in Wellington, Florida, just been everywhere. And now I have found Emily Smith, who I'm working for now, and I've been working for her, oh man, like
at least a couple years
yeah,
now, right?
I was going to say, I guess we're going on 3 years this winter. And she's been great because I have an off-the-track thoroughbred who I love dearly, but she has definitely been someone who has pushed me to actually do all the things I said I was going to do with them. So it's been really nice. And, you know, I still have some of my own clients on the side and such. So that's the history.
Amazing. Yeah. So today I really want to delve into your experience being a working student and like how, I mean, I guess first of all, like, how did you even decide like this is something I want to explore?
Let's see. Honestly, I think I first heard about working students from a family friend. She had connections with the 5-star rider and had horses with him. So put me in contact, and to be honest, when I went, I didn't really know what a working student was. You know, I knew I went and I was going to work hard and I was going to get cool riding opportunities. But again, this is why I'm always like, please go try it before you commit to it, because I loved it. I knew I wanted to be a working student from there on out, but different programs suit different people. Like I made a friend there who was like, I could never work for a small program because I like being lost in a bit of it, you know?
Yeah.
She was like, I don't like being the main focus. Not that you're always the main focus in a small program, but just really different vibes and everything. So yeah, it was kind of word of mouth that got me here and stuck with it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And then what was your experience like when you transitioned? Like when you first started with the dressage rider, like did you know from the jump, oh, this is going to be 6 months or a year or whatever? Or did you get to a point where you were like, oh, there's this other opportunity, I'm going to go for this?
I started out with just a winter. He was down in Aiken, and that my gap year was when COVID started,
Oh
or,
my
you
God.
know, what was supposed to be a gap year. So I initially was just going to stay with him a few months. When COVID happened, I ended up staying longer because I was at Stableview, which, if you don't know, is a beautiful giant property in Aiken with tons of barns and rings and cross country. And we had this great little COVID bubble there. So why would I leave? So I worked for him a little longer, but eventually I did decide to come back home to New Hampshire. Initially, I just wanted to pick up my own clients and have maybe a small program, but the more I did with the thoroughbred I got, he was a COVID horse, the more I realized that I wanted to do more and I couldn't do that on my own. So that's when I started seeking out a few more experiences with like being a working student and trainers, and most of them were closer to 6 months. I never really had a situation where I had to commit for too long, which was nice because I could just feel it out, and, you know, I had a good communication with the trainers, so it's not like anything was ever a surprise if either of us, you know, changed anything. And I definitely started getting the itch, though, to like be in a consistent program with one person and stick with it. And I just happened to meet Emily, who also was in the area and also went to Aiken, which I knew I wanted to do. And that kind of fell into place between all of the other ones that were, you know, roughly 6 months at a time, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, totally. And when you, I don't know, like, I guess I don't even know what the process is like to interview for a working student position or anything like that. Like, did you just like show up and you're like, hey, I can ride, I promise? Or like, was there like an interview process?
Honestly, it kind of was. I showed up. I mean, it wasn't, because I texted with the barn manager. I told her all about my experience. I mean, it was nice because, like I said, my family friend really got me into that first position. So it made it easier because I think they trusted her. So they knew she wasn't sending someone completely random and weird. Or, you know, someone who knew what they were doing. I guess not weird. But they didn't watch me ride or anything. They didn't have me send them videos, and I have sent videos to some trainers. Some trainers ask for videos or references. Sometimes they'll ask for, you know, your USEF number to look up competitions and all that. But my initial one was I showed up, and they said, these are the horses you're riding today. And they just basically sent me out. Granted, it was mostly fitness work. So, like, I think they were just hoping I really did know how to walk, trot, canter. But if I didn't, like,
I guess it would have become pretty obvious pretty quickly.
I guess so. But yeah, it really varies trainer to trainer. I would say majority of the people I talk to now, before you commit to working for them, want you to take like a lesson with them or do a trial or send videos. But occasionally there's definitely positions that I've been in, especially, you know, one in Wellington too, where I showed up and brought my horse and they just hoped I was a good worker.
That's incredible. And what do your like days typically look like when you're doing working student stuff? Like, I'm sure it's different from trainer to trainer, but I'm sure there's also some level of consistency.
Yeah. A few of my positions I didn't have to do stalls or paddocks or anything, but I would say majority of them I have. So usually wake up early, feed the horses, do stalls or paddocks, whatever the mucking out looks like. I would get sent a time to start tacking horses or riding horses if the trainer had a day off, or, you know, etc., etc. So I'd start tacking horses. Some trainers have you warm them up and you hand them off and then you cool off the horse that they just got off. Some will cool them off themselves or just hand them off and you'll hand walk them. It really depends trainer to trainer for the tacking and riding. Usually in the afternoon is when you would get a lesson. The other working students would have lessons, or they'd have haul-ins. They would go teach cross country. And then we would feed. Sometimes you would come back and do night check. Sometimes you would muck out again, depending on the trainer. But that was the usual gist, was feeding, mucking, tacking, and some riding.
Yeah. I think that a lot of people have like this vision of working student. Well, I don't know. I feel like there's two like really extreme sides to it, where like some people are like, oh, it sucks. All you do is you work all the time and blah, 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 blah. And on the other side, some people are like, oh my gosh, it seems magical. You just get to ride horses all day. Yeah. Like where on that spectrum do you feel like you expected things to be versus where they actually were?
So I definitely went into it very naive, like I'm just going to get to sit on a bunch of really cool horses and be taught all day, which definitely as soon as I got there, I knew that wasn't going to be the case, which was fine. I definitely pride myself in being a hard worker, so I didn't mind. And different positions put you in different places, like if you just want to get on a ton of horses and ride and you don't overly care about the lessons, there are a ton of programs that are like, we just need help cranking out horses and getting them all ridden and having videos taken of them and this and that. But you don't always have a ton of guidance on those horses because, it's such a big program that's why they need a million people riding. And then others are smaller, usually with a little less riding, but usually every horse you sit on, I would say, someone has their eye on you and giving you tips and helping you. And, there's in-betweens, but it just varies so much, which I know makes it hard. But I really like the nice balance of I'm trusted enough to ride horses when asked, but at the end of the day, I'm definitely there to learn. So I actually don't mind sitting on less horses if it means when I sit on something, I'm getting education from it.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense
to me. Yeah. It's also like I catch rode horses almost all of high school, and I have sat on plenty of horses, and don't get me wrong, you can never sit on enough horses, but, I could be at home making more money to ride whatever horses I want. Definitely wouldn't be as nice as the ones in the program, but,
right. Amazing. And then at this point you've settled into a program and you're like probably there for the foreseeable future.
Yes. I often tell her she's stuck with me.
That's not a bad thing. Can confirm. As someone who's been your friend for several years.
Oh, good.
Not
Honored.
a bad thing.
Honored.
Did you feel like you ever got to do like some quote interviewing of your own, like towards the end of when you were kind of shifting around? Like, did you have questions that you always made sure to ask, or like things that you like kind of had like red flags that you'd learned to look out for or anything like that?
Definitely going back to what I said near the beginning is I always make sure I have a trial and I always make sure I take a lesson. Those are my two big things. Even if the trial is like a day or two, just going and seeing how the barn runs and what realistically you're going to be doing every day, and taking a lesson either on your horse or their horse, or even watching a lesson, just knowing how they educate their riders and how their days run, because everyone just likes different things. And that way you really know what you're stepping into and you're not surprised, especially if they provide housing. Like, make sure you know where you're going to stay, because, I'm not picky about it, but there are people who are picky, which is totally fair. I completely understand why you'd be picky about where you're staying, but, see where you're going to stay, see what the area is like, all that. And as far as trainers go, picking out who you're working for, I try to talk to people who work for them. It's always a little hard, especially as you talk to people who work for 5-star riders, because they don't want to say anything bad. But once you have become a working student, or you have that relationship in the community, especially Aiken is such a big horse community that once you network with people, you really almost know everyone, or a friend of a friend worked for this person and can ask and advocate. So yeah, it's really just getting your foot in the door, trying it. And from there, you usually can ask the other workers and watch the lessons, all that. Those are my big things. Yeah. And as far as red flags go, just making sure they're honest to their word, which usually if you're there working for a few days first, you can tell if their riders are getting the lessons that they claim to be getting and such. They can hide some, but they're not going to hide in everyday work, if that makes sense. So that's the red flag of them not holding on to their word.
Yeah. Another thing that you've said a couple of times is that your first job was you got kind of because of this family friend connection.
Yeah.
Which I think one thing that I've talked about some on this podcast, and something that I think is a common critique of the horse world, is that you need to know people or you need to have money in order to get anywhere or do anything. Have you seen that to be true? Or because obviously that was your situation, but yeah. I don't know, interacting with other working students, does that seem to be a common through line? Or have you met 50-50 people with connections versus people who just kind of were hey?
I have met like the whole spectrum. I've met people who initially, like as kids, were in this trainer's program, so they grew up with them, they got the position, you know, and obviously, you know, their parents probably were funding them for a majority of it, so they had money to get in, or did. And I've, you know, a lot of connections. I think connections are what guarantees you a spot, if that makes sense. I think money is nice, and a nice application is nice, but at the end of the day, most riders are picking a connection that they can pursue, like someone can vouch for. And I don't think it's a must, though, by any means. I would say majority of working students that I talk to, even though I do think, like I said, connections help, majority of them just saw that there was an opening and applied, or heard about it, or asked, because a lot of people will like clinic with a trainer and really like them, and then talk to them about, hey, what does it look like to work for you? And, you know, they get a spot just as much as anyone else, I would say. I do hear a lot of people talking about money and connections being really important, and I think money is a bonus, don't get me wrong. You definitely have a sort of upper hand, especially if they're seeing you out on a nice horse, or, you know, your parents are willing to pay some of the board, and you can, you know, make the money to put towards, you know, there's all sorts of different scenarios to be a working student. But at the end of the day, most trainers who see you're a hard worker and you're a good rider, or at least a rider who, you know, is super motivated to get better, that's really what they care about the most. Granted, I've always been one-sided in the eventing and dressage world. I think that that's where most of the working students go. I don't know a ton about the hunter-jumper working student world, so all I can say is for what I know with eventing and dressage, but from what I've heard, it's similar. That's just all I know.
Yeah. Well, and you may not have insight into that cultural difference, but you do have insight into the cultural difference between, like, New England and Aiken and Florida, which I'm so curious to hear more about. Like, what are the patterns that you've noticed, like, being, because I feel like those are three very distinct areas to ride horses in.
Oh, for sure. It is, you know, at the core, they're all super similar, but Area 1 eventing, which is New England, is definitely lacking in big name professionals, and we have some awesome riders, do not get me wrong, but we don't have a ton of access to upper level training facilities and such. You know, I'd say there's a good chunk in New York, and there's, you know, GMHA in Vermont runs the intermediate and 2-star and 3-star, but they don't really offer schooling for those levels, you know? I honestly can't even think of where you would school besides maybe in New York to do anything above prelim. Honestly, most cross-country schooling areas within, like, a 2-hour radius, I would say, are borderline training and below, you know? It's just really hard to make a fair go at the upper levels in New England right now in eventing. The dressage world, I think if you're motivated and such and you're getting the training, you can go up the levels. I think it's harder because there's a lot more travel to shows, and not everyone is capable of doing that. But I think it's a little easier on them. But eventing, it's real tough to get out there and have a big name in this area, especially as the upper level shows dwindle and the professionals keep moving south because of that. So
yeah, well, and it makes sense. I mean, like, first of all, New England continues to become less affordable, which means fewer people can own horses and those sorts of luxuries too. And, like, land is such a big problem.
Yeah.
Like, there's not enough, like, I mean, not to, like, you know, be out here quoting the chicks or anything, but, like, there's not enough wide open spaces. Like, we don't have those big, beautiful fields.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, yeah, it's a little sad that we don't have that, but it also makes sense that the dressage world is doing better because you just need a ring.
Yeah, exactly. And I still think, like, the dressage world up here, and honestly even some in Aiken, is much less than it is in Florida because you can just train in such great conditions year round. And that just tends to be where most of the population of dressage has gone. But I do think if you have a nice trainer behind you, it's great if you're willing to travel down south. I think you get way more experience and opportunity. But if you have a nice indoor and a nice trainer behind you, I think dressage is definitely a little more accessible up in New England to do upper level stuff at.
Yeah, one of my favorite trainers I ever rode with was like, all you need is a 20-meter circle and you can practice everything you need to practice for dressage.
I mean, yeah, I guess so.
Like, if you can
Not
find that
wrong.
20-meter circle, you're golden.
Yeah, so it's definitely sad that the eventing up here is dwindling a bit. And I think it's awesome that we have so many great introductory events because we need that in the sport. But it's definitely sad to see shows keep leaving New England.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like, if the professionals aren't up here, then there's no reason to run those shows because they're not profitable. And
Exactly.
if those shows aren't here, then those trainers are going to just keep going. And like,
yeah. So, and we have some awesome people up here who are doing a great job staying up here and supporting the sport up here. But it's hard to be up and coming and in this area full time. You almost have to go down south to get further than prelim.
Right. Well, and I mean, talking about the accessibility of land, like you or I right now could not buy a piece of property big enough to support a program. And like, it's all, I feel like the people who own those properties are all aging. Like, I have seen so many posts being like, oh, this farm is closing because the owners finally died.
Yep.
And it's like,
and no one takes over.
Right? Well, nobody can afford to.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like, nobody can afford to. And like, I mean, I don't know what their like family situation is or whatever. Like, I don't know. Maybe their kids don't want to deal with that sort of property, but which is also fair. Like, that's a lot of maintenance if you're not super into horses.
Oh, I know. It is a labor of love, truly. I mean, the venues and farms that put on shows, I have so much respect for. There's so much that goes into those, and the volunteers and the TDs, just everything.
Yeah,
so
go volunteer at your local shows,
guys.
Yes,
Please do. Please. I do like that Area 1 has now made it a requirement in order to get an award or end of the year award or ribbon. I can't quite remember the language, but you need to have volunteer hours, which I appreciate.
I saw people like real upset about that, and I was like, oops, I think you're part of the problem.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you don't have to go on show day and volunteer to have those hours. You can go the day before and help set the jump course. You can go help put up the dressage rings. You know, there's so many places you could be. Because I understand there's a lot of people who are like, but I'm at, you know, these shows showing, I can't volunteer. It's like, but there's other things you could be doing to help and volunteer.
Right. Or you could like, I mean, if you're there on show day, you could also, I don't know, help clean up at the end and stuff.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
They need help doing all these things. Like, it's not completely inaccessible, and they are in desperate need of volunteers. So.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's a big reason why a lot of the kids of these landowners don't want to take over, or the next owners don't, because it is a lot of work to gather those people, and it's, you know, I don't think it would be an easy fix if everyone, you know, I think it would help if everyone started volunteering. It wouldn't fix everything, but I think it would make it more appealing to have an event that continues on as, you know, land gets passed on, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Oops, we've stumbled back upon my thesis statement that community is necessary.
What? That's crazy.
That is so crazy.
Yeah.
Community is necessary and individualism is a fallacy.
Oh my gosh. I mean, completely. I always tell people I love going to Aiken because, you know, there's so many reasons, but the biggest reason is you're just surrounded by horse people, all of which who are working really hard to be there. And it's just very refreshing because no matter how much money you have or anything, you know, there's definitely pros to that. But at the end of the day, you're all just out there, like, you're schooling your horses at the same places. You're taking lessons with the same coaches. It's just, like, so nice. You know, you go out to dinner and you're like, oh, hey, I saw you, like, ran the beginner novice this weekend. How did it go with your baby? You know, it's just... it's so fun and so supportive, and it definitely makes you feel like you're a part of something, especially in a sport that can be so lonely. Like, I don't know if that's the right word, but you know what I mean? It's hard because you're not always on a team at the lower levels, so it's hard to make those connections unless you're in a horsey community like that.
Right. Well, and I don't know, it makes things more enjoyable too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, 100%. It's like you want to be at the show cheering other people on. Like, oh,
Right.
I know I just got off my horse, cooled them off, they're all taken care of, and in 10 minutes, like, so-and-so's running cross country. I want to get out and, like, watch and get a video for her. And it's so awesome to cheer other people on. And in return, you know, there's people cheering you on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's something that I miss. Like, I love having my horse at home.
Yeah.
It's wonderful and it's beautiful to be able to be like, look at him, he's taking a nap in the pasture. But I miss being in a barn with other people and being able to, like, go out for rides with people and, like, be like, oh my gosh, how was your show this weekend? Like, that's so exciting. And, like, I don't know, like, it just makes sense that would be so appealing. And, like, that's something that I've thought about, because I obviously have gone a totally different route and gotten a quote real job and, like, have, like, an office career somehow. Still not quite sure how that happened, but, like, hearing all of your stories and seeing all of the cool things that you're doing, I'm always like, oh my god, like, that must be so cool to just be surrounded by people who are just so into the thing that you're into.
Yeah, and honestly, you could probably do a whole episode on the woes of bringing your horse home, also the great things, but the amount of people I talk to who they really struggle when their horse gets home, and at the end of it they're super happy. Like, it is so awesome having your horse at home, but it's hard to explain to people that when you're not around other horse people all the time, you kind of have to seek them out, and it's I don't know, it's so different than the barn environment.
Totally. I mean, even just, like, in the space of, like, I want to go for a trail ride with people sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
Or, like, when I text you and I'm like, does Jules look lame here? Like, I would love to have somebody right next to me who could be like, he looks fine. Or, yeah, he does look lame, actually.
Oh, I know. It is definitely nice to have other eyes and other opinions, and, you know, it's a hard sport to be in, but we definitely all love it, and that's why we're here. So
Right. Well, yeah, and I mean, I guess that's kind of the point. It's just, like, find your people, which you've done.
Yes,
I'm so happy for you.
I know. And to think that, you know, you were one of the people I found when I showed up at your door, and I knocked and I said, I know you're new here, but I heard you have a pony.
Yeah, no, that is straight up how Maggie and I met. Is I had moved into a house that was right down the street from her house, and I had moved my pony in. And, like, I don't know, a week and a half, I think, after
someone
living
said,
there.
oh, they asked to ride in our field. Did you know they have horses? I was like, oh, no.
Yeah, and then Maggie just straight up knocked on my door and showed up and was like, hi, I heard you have a pony. And I was like, hi, my name's Georgia.
I was like, oh, I guess my name's Maggie. Hi.
And then we literally were best friends within, like, a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so much fun. But, you know, it's all about finding your people. We're all just crazy horse girls at heart.
Yeah. Well, and when you came home from COVID, too, I think, like, you and I spent a lot of time together, like, riding together.
Yeah, because I had my horses finally down the road at, you know, not quite my house, but close enough to my house.
Right.
And, oh my God, it was so fun. And I think we were so lucky to have each other because it was... Yeah, it's just, everyone knows how COVID was.
Right. Yeah, no, and just being able to be like, yeah, we're just going to go out for a trail ride.
Yeah.
And we just get to, like, goof around.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And do whatever we want.
Yeah.
On these ponies. Because you had Mikey and Osmos there. And then I would bring Maverick up.
Yes.
And so, like, I feel like we had the most fun when we took Mikey and Maverick out.
Oh my
honestly.
gosh. Those little wild things. I know. Yeah. And, you know, Ozzy was great, but that summer definitely helped me realize, like, oh man, I need guidance. Like, not that it was ever going bad, but I definitely was like, I don't know how to keep, like, we're doing beginner novice and some novice stuff, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. So, but it was nice to not worry about that because I had someone like you to, like, go out and just have fun riding and be like, you know, that's fine. Like, there's competitions next year. And I mean, that's how it should be. I understand that you get to a certain level and sometimes it is about being competitive, but I always am very happy that I was someone who, you know, I always make sure to have fun with the horses. And I think all good riders do that. Yeah. And definitely, yeah, out with Maverick and Mikey and running around, jumping Ozzy over those weird homemade jumps.
Oh my God, those are so bad. And Maverick.
Yes,
Maverick
and Maverick.
Too.
Yeah. So, yeah, 100%.
I think that might have been the last time I've jumped.
Well,
I'm
I
not
think
kidding.
Yeah, I guess it probably was. I know you jumped Ozzy later in that summer, but you probably jumped Maverick after that. Yeah. Oh, that's wild.
I think
we gotta get you jumping again.
I know. I think it's straight up been like 5 years since I jumped anything. That's wow. I didn't even really think about that.
Do you want to jump again?
Yes.
Yes. Good.
Yes.
All right.
I was joking. I was like, cool. Jules and I are cantering now. It's time to go jump.
Yes. Good.
And Mom was like, maybe do some pole work first.
Just put up a little grid, see what happens.
He'd run through it.
He definitely would.
He would try so hard.
Yeah, he would not know what's happening, but I'm sure it will be so fun to watch you guys get there, though.
It'll be so fun. And like, okay, as like the friend of a working student, it's also so fun because I have watched you gain so much confidence over the last few years too. Like, and it's been really fun to watch you like. I mean, I'm just gonna like gloat about you for a second.
Oh my gosh, stop it. I'm blushing.
Just like, I don't know, it's genuinely been really fun to watch you like grow as a rider and get so excited and get so engaged in it. Because when we first met, you had not been riding for that long, I don't think.
No,
like you were just starting.
Yeah, like I said, I started riding at summer camp when I was 9, but I didn't move to New Hampshire till I want to say I was 14, I think.
Right.
And that's when I started taking like weekly lessons outside of the 2 months of camp.
Right.
So
now you're like, oh, I'm aiming for like the 2 and 3 stars. And I'm like, you freaking go. Like, hell yeah. Like,
well, I mean,
and it means I can be like, hey, I'm scared to put the first ride on my horse. Come over and ride my horse for me.
Yeah. Oh, and then my favorite part is now you trust me enough to be like, you can trot your horse. I just trotted your horse. Trot your horse. And
yes.
you like think about it. And I was like, come on, relax, take a deep breath, trot your horse. And okay.
Yeah, being a working student, great. Being the friend of a working student, also excellent.
Yeah, you get all the pointers without any of the,
exactly.
manual or the hard labor.
I mean, I do have my horse at home now.
Oh, that's true. I was going to say, you still work real hard.
Still, yeah. We're still working, but not for 50 plus horses or anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, this was so much fun.
Oh, it's been so fun. I feel like
thank you so much.
This is so wild. I know for a while we were like, we just talk forever about horses. We should do a podcast when we were in high school. And
Careful.
Then I know, and now you're rocking it with the podcast.
I'm gonna steal you onto my podcast. Okay, this is actually hilarious because if you're not on my Patreon, then you have not heard from Maggie before, but Maggie has been on my Patreon at least once, maybe twice by the time this comes out.
Yeah.
And, but we've been trying to make this episode happen since I started this podcast, too.
Yeah. Having a full-time actual job and me having a full-time horse job, it's definitely, they don't like each other very much.
No, I'm like, I'm around in the evenings and on weekends, and you're like, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm like, that's a bummer.
Cool story, that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, but it's most of our horses are having some time off before we go down to Aiken, so now we can make
it works.
Tons of episodes.
We're
all set.
Oh my god, yeah. No, we could just talk about horses forever.
I think, yeah, so. No, I love it. I'm just so happy to see you doing this podcast. It's been so great.
I love that this has become just us hyping each other up.
Yeah,
actually,
yes. That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. Find your community, kids.
100%.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Maggie, and we will talk to you later.
Bye.